I welcome you once again in the third lecture where we will be developing a model for infectious disease. So first in that row, first we need to know that what is the prey-predator model, because this is the basic model on which all the infectious models have been developed. This prey-predator model is also known as Lotka-Volterra model. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake. This is Volterra. This is Volterra model. This model was developed independently by Alfred J. Lotka and Vito Volterra in 1920s, which characterized by oscillations in the population size of both prey and predator. The prey-predator dynamics, it can be written in the simplified form by using pair of differential equations. This describes the relation between herbivore plants, parasitoids, host, lions, gazelles, birds, insects, shark, fishes, etc. So these are the pictures of Alfred Lotka, and this is the picture for Vito Volterra. So this is the basic predator-prey model. So first let us try to understand the physiology of the model. So in this one, as we say that it is prey-predator model, so it is clearly understood that there should be two compartments. One is for predator, another is for prey. So for prey, how the situation is going, prey will be, this is the first compartment, and there will be the increment of the prey by natural birth, and there will be natural death for the prey which is happening, but there will be one more factor which will be adding to the death of prey, that is death from the predators. When we have predator compartment, then there will be only natural birth and natural deaths will be considered. So we are not saying that this is the only thing which is happening in the real world situation for the prey predator species when there is a interaction of these prey and predator. But we are saying that this is the working model. So we need to have certain set of assumptions under which we are going to create, under which we are going to develop our model. So we need to develop the model. We say that, let us say that xt is the number of prey per unit area and yt is the number of predators per unit area. Then for this, if we write down the equation for this prey, that is dx by dt, then there will be increment in the population of prey with the help of this beta 1, where beta 1 will be the rate of the birth. Then there will be a decrement in the population of prey because of the presence of this predator, and this will be that how much decrement will be there will be taken care of by this parameter, right? Then we will be writing down the equation for this predator, that is dy by dt. So there will be an increment happening in the population of predator because of the presence of this prey. So here the predators are being increased due to the presence of this prey, and there will be a self decay in the population of predator will be there, which is because of the natural death. Here C1 and C2 are called interaction parameter because here C1 is the parameter at which the number of preys are getting reduced due to the presence of predator, and here C2 is again the interaction parameter between the population of prey and predator, because here the number of predators are being increased because of the presence of this prey. Now there may be many assumptions here. This either we can consider that the C1 and C2 are same, they may not be same. Then there will be other conditions which we can add, that there is not sufficient food available for prey. Then we can say that some disease occurs in prey because of which predator population will be decreased at a very higher rate. So that's how we keep on adding the assumptions, keep on relaxing the assumptions, and we can reach to a more close we can reach more closer to the real life situation. Okay, so why do we use models for infectious disease? So though I have no need to explain all these things because we have experienced this during last year when there was a corona outbreak in November 19. That time itself, many epidemiologists have predicted that how much population will be affected because of corona. You will be surprised that, in fact, I was surprised that some study was published in December 19, which claimed that overall 4 lakh people will be dying because of the corona. At that point of time, that number was very big, and nobody has predicted that, nobody has believed that such a big population can be affected because of corona. But there were certain assumptions which could not be tackled properly. That's why the forecast cannot be as correct as it would have been. So that is the role of assumptions in preparation of a model. So the dynamics of infectious disease are very complex. There are non-linearities involved in that. Many non-linearities are involved in the in the model for infectious disease. And I have just given you an example that small changes in input can produce large changes in output. That's why I said that some assumptions would have not been laid down properly. That's why the forecast which was being made in December 19, that 4 lakh population is going to be affected due to corona worldwide, which was found to be false in due course of time. There are emergent properties, of course, it is very clear. Okay, so let us try to develop a SIR model for epidemics. We will be doing it without demography, and we will be using compartment model, of course. So, as I said, SIR model. So let us try to understand what we mean by SIR model. So S stands for susceptible, stands for infectives, and stands for recovered. So that's how the progression of disease will take place. That is, from here, susceptible population is being susceptible. Then they are coming in close contact with some infectives, and that's how they are getting into this infective class. Then some of them are getting recovered on their own, or some of them are getting recovered because of the treatment given to them, and then they are moving to this recovered class. If we say that when we are reaching to this recovered class, we are saying that they are not again becoming susceptible. If they are again becoming susceptible, then we need to write SIRS model. So let us try to see that how these equations can be written for that. So first equation is ds by dt, that is change in the rate in rate of change of susceptible population with respect to time. So susceptible rate of change of susceptible is because of this infected population, and that's how the susceptible population is getting reduced, and this is at the rate of this beta. So beta here is we can say this is the incidence rate. That is at which the infectives are getting involved with the susceptibles, and here in the basic model this has been taken as constant. Then infective population is getting increased because of the same factor, because more susceptibles are coming to this infective class at this rate beta, and then some infectives are they are dying on their own, that is natural death are happening in infectives. That's why this gamma is there. Gamma is the natural death of that. Okay, so that's how these equations can be written. Now this is the simplest equation for recovered which has been written, but we will not take them. This is not the only way of writing down the recovered population. Here we are not considering that some treatment is being given to them. If some treatment is being given to them, then that has to be added properly. So these are the initial conditions that at time t equals to 0, the population is S naught, I naught, and 0, because there is no recovered at time t equals to 0, right? So beta is the transmission rate or infection rate and gamma is the recovery rate. But in this equation, we have not considered what is the treatment rate, because treatment rate will be the key factor in getting this recovered class. Okay. Now, let us try to write down a more detailed SIR model for epidemics. In this one, what we have done, these three equations will be written in the form of small s. We have used a small I and a small r because it has been divided by the this is called as the density of the susceptible population, then density of the infective population, and then density of the removed individuals. And we have considered that S plus I plus R equals to 1, that is, it is 100%, right? And now you can see that if out of this, if we just go to this di by dt, it can be written as beta s minus mu I, and it has to be greater than 0 because s naught is greater than s naught is if it is similar to 1, if we say at time t equals to 0, then it will be converted to beta s naught minus mu, and it will be of course greater than 0. Then this from this one, this r naught can be taken as beta by mu, which is greater than 1. Now this r naught is a very important parameter in this one, which is called as the basic reproduction number. Now this basic reproduction number is the number of individuals a sick person will infect. So when we are saying that corona can be it can be reduced by reducing the number of contacts, that is, if you quarantine a person, then the number of infected population will be reduced. That is true because of this basic reproduction number, because if a sick person will not be able to infect more number of people, then this r naught will be getting reduced, and if this r naught will be reduced, then this is the parameter based on which it is said that whether the particular disease is or particular disease is coming is converted to epidemic or it is converted to pandemic. So this is the key factor. I think during last year you might have seen you might have heard this term quite a few times, that basic reproduction number is very high for corona. It has become 2, it has been observed as 3. So if it is less than 1, then only it will be, we can say that disease is going to die. If it is greater than 1, then it will be called as a epidemic. And if it is in most of the research articles, they say that if it is 2, greater than 2, then a pandemic will be declared by WHO. So this is the basic reproduction number. It is the expected number of secondary cases of disease produced directly by an average infectious individuals entering an entirely susceptible population. So when R naught is greater than 1, then epidemic occurs, and R naught, sorry, when R naught is less than 1, no epidemic occurs. That is, the disease die out. Particular disease will be dying out. So this is the indication that when the disease is going to end. Okay. Now, let us try to discuss some of the important aspects for this, that is threshold phenomena and critical proportion to vaccinate. That is how the people, how the health or professionals, they are saying that how many people, how much proportion of the population needs to be vaccinated. So this is the threshold proportion of susceptibles necessary for an epidemic. If it is this S is greater than gamma by beta, then this will be the threshold proportion of susceptible which will be necessary for an epidemic. That is, based on this factor only, health professionals declare that particular disease is going to convert into an epidemic. If this S naught is greater than 1 over R naught, then it will be converted to that S is greater than 1 over R naught. Then we must vaccinate at least 1 minus 1 by R naught of the population to prevent an epidemic. So that's how you can say that a mathematical term can declare that how can decide or we can forecast that how much population we need to vaccinate. It is not randomly declared that these many people will be vaccinated. No, all mathematical calculations have been made for that. So this is the epidemic curve, that is SIR without demography. That is, this is red is I. So that's how the disease emerges. So that's how the disease emerges. It reaches its peak and then it comes down and then it dies out, right? So this times in days. So then this S is the population, that first the population was susceptible and then the number of susceptibles are getting low, and then number of recovered, they were increasing, and then it has attained the this position that where all have become recovered. Okay, now let us try to develop a SIR model with demography, right? Then we are having three compartments, S, I, and R again, and there were three equations will be written for each compartment, that is susceptible, infected, and recovered. Here these two assumptions are there. As I said, that assumptions are very important to note, because based on that only working model will be developed. So fixed population size is fixed, that is death are equal to birth. So we are saying that no, there will not be a population change in during this course of time. Then there is another assumption which is very important, that no disease induced mortality is there. So these two are the assumptions which are required for this SIR model. Then here beta will be the transmission parameter, that is the contact rate. Gamma will be the recovery rate, and mu will be the mortality, that is fertility, or that this is 1 over life expectancy. Then ds by dt will be equal to mu, that is mortality of S plus I plus R, minus there will be a decrement in the population of susceptible because of the presence of this infected, and the concerned parameter will be this contact rate, right? There will be a self decay in the population of susceptible because of the natural death. Similarly, there will be an increment in the population of infected because of the susceptibles available, and it will depend upon this transmission parameter beta. There will be a self decay in this in the infected population, and there will be a recovery rate, and when we will say recovery rate, then there will be a decrement in the population of infected because they will be moved to this R compartment. Then there will be natural mortality for this infected population. Similarly, we have the third equation written for recovered population. That is, so this factor will be carried from the second equation, and then there will be a natural death occurring for recovered population also. So this model has been created with this assumption that there is fixed population size and no disease-induced mortality is there. When we have disease induced mortality, then there will be death of this, let me say if it is D, then we will say that D with I. So this is the disease induced mortality, and that's how the infected population will be dying at this rate. Okay. Similarly, we keep on relaxing the assumptions, and we will be reaching to a situation where our model will be exactly, we can say that representing the real life situation. Then let us calculate the basic reproduction number, which is very, very important in this SIR model. So di by dt is given like this. When is I increasing? We must know this. When is I increasing? I will be increasing when this above equation is positive. Above equation is positive in this way, that when this right hand side is greater than 0, then I cannot be this let us not consider this I, so let us consider this portion only. So this will be uh, beta is greater than mu plus gamma, and this is let me say that this R naught is beta divided by mu plus gamma. Let me see what it shows. Sorry. So mu was mortality, that is for mortality, or it is depending on this life expectancy also, and this gamma is this recovery rate. So you can see that our reproduction number is depending upon this transmission rate and this recovery rate and the mortality of the population. So that's how this reproduction number will be calculated for a particular situation. So this is the epidemic curve that for in case of this SIR model with demography, that this disease will be, first it will be emerging, and then it is achieving its peak, and then it is going down. But then you experience a further rise in the disease, and then it will finally dies out. So we are hoping that that it should be the case with corona also, because we don't want to have such a high peak of corona at the second outbreak which is happening these days. So lastly, let us discuss what are the limitations of mathematical modeling. With the help of mathematical model, it is always not possible to find a mathematical expression of the reality. That is the biggest, we can say, the greatest limitation of the mathematical model. Due to measurement errors, the data collected differs from reality. And this we have experienced a lot in diabetes also, and in the development of the model for corona also, that the data which is collected, it is actually, some errors are there. So that's why it is very difficult to predict the values of the parameter more precisely. In a mathematical model, it is impossible to take into account all parameters of the experiment. That is another big limitation of any mathematical model. Models are used to stimulate reality, and they are used to make predictions. The major limitation of the model is that they are idealization or simplification of reality, and thus cannot possibly replace reality. That is a crude reality, that we cannot replace this reality with the help of mathematical model. Now, the another limitations there may be mathematical limitations, there may be computational limitations, there may be graphical, or they may be conceptual in nature. So that's how there are limitations of mathematical modeling are there, and because of which we are not able to predict the situation in a more precise, in a accurate way. There may be a more you can say more better way to predict. Then there are still a large number of situations which are yet to be modeled. The reason behind this is that either the situation are found out to be complex, or mathematical model are mathematically intractable. Mathematical modeling by large and complex situation has its own special problems. These type of situations usually occur in the study of bird model of environment, oceanography, pollution control, etc. Mathematical model from all disciplines, that is mathematics, computer science, physics, engineering, social sciences, etc., are involved in meeting these challenges with courage. So we are trying our level best despite of all the limitations, that whatever model we develop, they should be able to forecast, at least up to some extent, they should be precise in nature. So thank you very much. This was all about the development of the model for infectious disease. I hope you enjoyed the development of the model, and you can take any real life situation, convert that into a working model, and try to convert that into this mathematical model. And I would be happy to have any feedback about this, that if you are able to develop any model for any real life situation, I would like to have the conversation with you. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for patiently listening me. Thanks a lot.